Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the January 19th, 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'll call it to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask our acting county counsel, Chris Schmidt, to lead us. Okay, this is the time for oral communications. Any member of the public may speak on any subject that is not on the printed agenda.
Good morning. My name is Elena Linehan. I'm the Mentoring Works Coordinator at the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency. This month is National Mentoring Month, and I'm here to remind you that Thursday, the 21st of January, is National Thank Your Mentor Month. Every one of us had somebody, when we were a child, we had some adult that we looked up to, whether it was our parents, our grandparents, the retired Army nurse across the street. There was someone who made an impact on your life. And I'm asking you and your constituents to take a moment on Thursday and think about who that person was. I've given each of you a card that's blank on the backside so you can write a little note, scrawl it off, get it off in the mail to them. But you might be thinking, gosh, Mrs. Harding, my third grade teacher, she's not at Palisades Elementary School anymore, and I sure hope she's not teaching there, and I don't think she's alive. But you could write a note to Palisades Elementary School and say, I never told you the impact that third grade teacher had on me. Your uncle might no longer be alive, but you can contact your cousins and say, I never told you what your dad meant to me and how he reflected my life. There is a movement afoot to try to get people to comment on who mentored them and how that affected them. If you go on to your computer and just do a search engine on who mentored you, you'll find testimonials by people who taking some time to honor that person. You'll find celebrities listing there of people that mentored them. Many of you remember Walter Cronkite, a broadcast journalist, once the most trusted man in America. But he talked about his high school journalism teacher who really had an impact on him, got his first internship at the Houston Press when he was a youth. And he said that all through his career, of course his career far outshone his high school journalism teachers, but he's kept the things that he learned all through his life. And he always remembers that teacher told him, you've got to remember that everyone you write about is a human being, not just a headline. So while that high school teacher made a huge impact on his students, that lesson made a huge impact on all of us across the United States. So please do take some time to give that person a call, drop them a note, find them on Facebook, let them know how you appreciate them. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. My name is Susan Lipscomb. I'm an in-home supported services provider, and I told you last year that I would be back to ask for a raise, and here I am. We'll be negotiating in March. But before I get into that, I would like to bring a problem to your attention with in-home supported services providers. The county paid workers in IHSS is not keeping up with the paperwork for the providers. Therefore, when a provider is no longer working with a client, according to the paperwork, the provider is. And before we start working with a new client, the county has to send us a contract and a time card. Before that happens, we are credited with having those hours and making that money. But in reality, you are not making any money for two clients. Providers are losing their Medi-Cal benefits and their food stamp benefits because on paper they are making money, and in reality they are making no money. And I think that really needs to be addressed in our county. Since we no longer have an IHSS advisory board, then that makes you our advisory board. Is that correct?
Don't know. We'll check into it.
who can I talk to in the county to resolve this problem of providers losing their benefits? Most of us live at poverty level or below and cannot afford to lose these benefits.
Mr. Pedro?
I'll be contacting HSA Director Ann Connolly to try and bring light to this and do what we need to resolve any problems.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask the board for a raise above minimum wage. And I really don't know what to ask for, because I understand that the board has waived fees for a multi-million-dollar company. If your pockets are that deep, why are we only making minimum wage? Where I live in Columbia, even if I could afford a computer and the monthly fee to have the internet, it does not work over half the time in Columbia because the AT&T infrastructure is from 1964. It cannot handle the modernization of the technology that we are bringing in. And the sewage system, I was told by TUD that my house is on a 1920s system. This is 2016. Was that infrastructure meant to last a century? And what are we going to do when we're bringing more commercial business into Columbia? Is that going to mess up the sewage system that our houses are on? Is it going to be able to take a commercial business? Was this infrastructure meant to last a century? I don't think so. If more business is going to be brought into Columbia, I think that we, the citizens, should be protected, and our infrastructure should be updated before we start bringing more commercial business into Columbia. And yeah, we want to raise. I would like to see 75 cents on April 1st and another 75 cents on July 1st, bringing us $1.50 above minimum wage. And I would like to see in our contract that we can stay $1.50 above minimum wage no matter what minimum wage is, and for years, instead of coming back here and doing this every year. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. Matt Reed from Congressman Tom McClintock's office. Just want to thank you for this forum and announce that at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. I'll be across the street at the Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority. If anyone would like to discuss federal policy or has any problems going on with a federal agency that they'd like resolved. Thank you again. It's good to see you all.
Good to see you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to close the public comment then. Will the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held January 5th, 2016. Approving the invitation for bids for Tuolumne County road striping and issuing a call for bids due on February 25th, 2016 at 2 p.m. Approving the class and specifications for the position supervising district attorney investigator, sheriff's records supervisor, staff service analyst 1-2, lead equipment technician. Approving the 2016 local child care and development planning council's membership report. Approving the reappointment of Lisa DeHart to the Historic Preservation Review Commission and the reappointment of Rex Winston to the Tuolumne County Commission on Aging.
Does any supervisor wish to pull any item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
You got beat. Would you like the second?
But she didn't address you as Mr. Chairman, and I did.
Would you like the second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, and I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, it's 4-0 with Evan Royce not present. Next item.
Consideration of approving the certificate of recognition for Kim Baker for the combined 12 years of dedicated service to Columbia State Historic Park and Railtown 1897 State Historic Park.
Okay, I'm going to read it at the podium, but is there any public comment on the resolution? Certificate, I'm sorry. Bring it back, seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion to approve the certificate.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of this certificate of recognition.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the vote is 4-0 with Evan Royce absent. This is the fun part. And this is really special for me because Kim has worked in my district for all these years. So I'm going to read the certificate, and then I got a couple of more words. Come on up, Kim. Congratulations. Certificate of Recognition, Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. Kim Baker has played an important role within our community, serving as the supervising ranger at Columbia State Historic Park for 5 years and sector superintendent of Railtown 1897 State Historic Park for 7 years. Ms. Baker may best be remembered for her time with Railtown, where she worked on projects as diverse as the threatened state closure of Railtown, to initiating the Polar Express fundraising event, to pursuing designation of Railtown as a national landmark. Perhaps Ms. Baker's greatest contribution came in the role she played to increase public awareness of Railtown's plight during the threatened closure and helping to raise funding locally and at the state level. Kim's efforts, supported by a broad coalition of Railtown supporters, ultimately served to keep the park's doors open for future generations of visitors to enjoy. On the eve of Ms. Baker leaving Tuolumne County to take on a new challenge within the state park system, it seems only right to recognize Kim for her contributions to our community. Therefore, the Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes Kim Baker for her combined 12 years of service at Columbia State Historic Park and Railtown 1897 State Historic Park, and extends its best wishes to Kim in her next assignment within the state park system. And I have to tell you, this lady is an incredible dynamo. The energy that she has put into both of those parks is just incredible. And we have her largely to thank for Railtown still being open. And that Polar Express, you're probably almost glad to get rid of it. It's a lot of work every year, but that is such a great attraction into this county, and it brings so many visitors to our county. And Kim, we hate to see you go. I really do, but I've never been one to stand in the way of somebody that's moving up, and I just want to congratulate you and wish you the very best from the county. And I think that Craig has something for you as well.
Do I get to say anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would just like to go on record that it takes a whole team of people to do this, and this has been a great community to work in. And nowhere else, when I tell my peers across the state that, well, the county I worked for actually put an initiative on the ballot to keep the park open, people just could not believe it. So it's been great how this community has really, really come together, and we are able to really kick butt and get a lot done down there because of all the volunteers, the California State Railroad Museum Foundation, the board here, and just the Kiwanis and the Rotary, and so many people in this community who stepped up. So I hope you all keep working to keep Railtown rolling, because it belongs to all of us. And just to clarify, I'm not leaving the county, so I'll still be here to annoy you. So.
All right. Well, Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you. You've been a breath of fresh air. It's really, well, come on. Just kidding. It's really good when I call it early in the morning and joke about things like today. But no, you've been a breath of fresh air. You've enhanced our relationship between the county and the state parks, particularly at Railtown. Much appreciated. You're going to be missed.
Well, thank you.
So there you go.
Okay, will the clerk please read the next item?
Number 8 is consideration of authorizing the Tuolumne County Fire Department to apply for an Office of Traffic Safety grant.
Good morning, Chairman of the Board, other board members, county staff, Paul Avila, County Fire. Tuolumne County Fire Department would like to participate in the Office of Traffic Safety grant on a regional basis with the other fire departments in the county. And this would be for the Jaws of Life, HRSA extrication tools for vehicle accidents, and extricating patients out of the vehicles. The equipment would replace old, outdated equipment at Mono Village, Jamestown, Groveland, Chinese Camp, Don Pedro, and both Twinehard and Blanchard Amador stations. The amount we're requesting in the grant would be $290,000. And County Fire is also seeking interest by with the other local fire departments. So far, 3 of the other fire departments in the county are interested in pursuing this. We should have a final number by the end of the week. All departments that are involved in this grant are required to purchase, and they're they're accountable for all monetary obligations for the grant. The grant is 100% reimbursable. So once we purchase, if we're successful, once we purchase the equipment, then we'll be reimbursed 100%, and we would come back to the board and ask for approval for amending our budget. Staff recommends the board consider allowing the Tuolumne County Fire Department to submit the Office of Traffic Safety grant application and allow the county administrator to sign any subsequent documents pertaining to this grant. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, is this the maximum amount that we can ask for in this grant?
No, it's not. There's really no max.
Okay.
What I did was come up with something doable. We could reach for the stars, and that might deter us from getting the grant. We're competing against 52 other counties. We recently put in for extrication equipment with the AFG grant, the Assistance to Firefighter grant. So we will know if we get this one before the AFG, where that's not 100% reimbursable. So if we're successful in this one, then we would cancel the AFG grant.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment? Okay, bring it back to the board.
I'll move approval of the request by the...
Second?
Okay, motion by Hanvelt, second by Gray. And any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it goes 4-0 with Evan Royce absent. Okay.
Do you want me to announce that number 9 has been pulled and may be heard at a later date?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we'll go to 10, right?
Yep.
Consideration of approving a budget for the tree mortality hazard tree removal plan by establishing total appropriations at $440,036.
Okay, I will remind the board that this is a 4/5 vote required. Go ahead, staff.
Good morning. Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office and OES Coordinator. This item before you today is coming for your consideration that would allow us to begin moving forward on a process that began months ago when your board first approved the tree mortality proclamation for local disaster. So on November 18th, Tuolumne County was approved for the California Disaster Assistance Act. Then on January 5th, your board reviewed and considered and approved the tree mortality hazard tree removal plan. That was submitted to Cal OES later that day, and they approved it on January 6th. With that in mind, the process for this tree mortality issue is going rather slow, and that's because it is so big, and we all realize that this is huge. There are many components that are still unknown and some that we know we can proceed on. While we do have approval, they don't have the guidelines are not clear for how counties will proceed with this process. But there are a couple components that are clear. One of them, they have created high hazard zones. These high hazard zones were created, it's a map, it shows you, and we will get you a copy of that for the next board meeting, but essentially it's showing in the top 6 counties that they have, from Tuolumne County being the northern county, of where are those high hazard zones, and they show you where they're showing the dead trees. And working with our unit forester from CAL FIRE, Adam Freeze, we both realized that we need some ground truthing done. So by allowing us to proceed with a part of this budget, I'm going to get into more detail, but allow us to do that ground truthing. And the ground truthing is that when you look at the map, it does not really show any dead trees in our South County or even in the Tuolumne County, the Tuolumne area. And we know that's not true. CAL FIRE is absolutely open to getting that ground truthing and getting that data correct. So we're working both with the GIS individual within CAL FIRE and with Larry Bile to get that map so that we can begin the process. I'll explain what that process is. The first part that we know we can do is get out there and start allowing or do an RFQ that would allow us to get registered professional foresters or arborists, and that is the only 2 professionals that the state at this point is allowing to designate trees for removal. Those individuals would take with them a GPS unit, and they would go out to each tree, and they would actually get us the coordinates for each tree that they're saying are they're either dead and or diseased and dying. What this allows us to do with these coordinates are 2 things. The ground truthing that I spoke about earlier. Also, since we are seeking the presidential declaration, the FEMA Hazard Tree Removal Program requires a GPS for every single tree, the diameter, the height, and what did we do with that tree? How did we dispose of it? Did it go to market? What did it go to shavings plant? Did we chip it? What did we do with it? That's a lot of data to accumulate, process, and organize for thousands and thousands of trees. And we're the northernmost county, where we're hearing the southernmost counties are the ones that are hit the hardest. So with that being said, I don't want to get into the details of what the next item is, but if you were to approve this item, it would do several things. It would allow us to move forward with looking at a project manager, a contract for a project manager and coordinator. It would also allow us to begin an RFQ process in which we could begin developing a pool of those arborists and or registered professional foresters. And then we could also proceed. We'd already previously approached the landowner who owns the land adjacent to UltraPower. UltraPower, as you heard in the last board meeting, has said that they are absolutely willing to partner and be part of the process for this tree mortality issue. They can take, so far right now, and they think they can do more, but right now they've penciled in 500 ton per month. We also have the American Wood Fibers. They were there at our task force meeting on Thursday. They said they could do 500 ton per week. So we have the capacity locally that many, many other counties do not have. If we were able to lease that piece of property adjacent to UltraPower, it would allow us to have a location to bring wood in, whether it be logs and have it decked, or these other areas where maybe even PG&E has, they have shorter 6 and 8 foot sections that they've created. Bring that wood in. UltraPower would incur the cost. They confirmed that with me on Friday or Thursday, sorry. Yes, they will come out, they will chip the wood. We bring the wood in, we manage the site, they bring the equipment out, they chip it, they take it back into their site for use. So this would allow us to also begin and complete, hopefully, a contract for leasing that property right outside adjacent to UltraPower, outside the gates there. So on the last page of your memo, we did break down what that budget would look like. And this is a preliminary budget. I want to make sure everyone knows this just takes us from beginning to get the project manager on board, get the property leased, get an RFQ out, develop a pool of our foresters and arborists, and begin the process of designating those trees that need to be removed. This only goes through June 30th. It is my hope in working with Mike Albrecht, and he is here today if you have any questions for him for the next item, that we will, by the time we get to the next budget for sure, have at least a better identified scope and budget for the coming year. We know this is going to change. It's going to be different. I'll probably be up before you several more times asking asking for maybe different types of monies or telling you how we need to use the budget and change that budget you've already approved. But this is just to get us through June 30th. It is a preliminary budget based on what we know right now, and that changes every single day when I receive a phone call or go to a different meeting. Last week, not only did we go to the Tree Mortality Task Force on Monday we had with the state, we also had our own Tree Mortality Task Force here locally on Thursday. We also had our core planning team, and there were 3 phone calls with the state and various agencies and all 6 counties. So they are fully engaged. They're asking, what do we need? What are our gaps and what are our barriers? And they're different for each county. We have so much more resources available to us than those other counties, and I'm so thankful for that. Many don't have a place to take the wood product at all, and they're trying to determine what that is. So what is before you today in the budget is an estimate of $440,000. That again, it would be shared with the state, 25%, 75%, with a cost share of 25% to us, the county. This number is not, I can't say this enough. I'm sorry, there's just been so many questions, but it's not a final number. This is really just to give us a place to start. We still continue to pursue the federal proclamation. We hope that we are able to get that proclamation. In the event that does happen, our share would go down to 6.25%. But right now we don't have that. So that means out of the $440,000 budget that we would need to create, and we are working with Debbie Batista, our Auditor Controller, to create a separate cost center, our share would be $110,000 of that at this point. This, I'm going to make sure. So by approving this, we'd be able to first proceed in directing identification of trees around county properties threatening public infrastructure and right-of-way, organize and making the wood yard near Ultra Power, and then we would continue to work with county, state OES and the task force, both locally and at the state level, to determine where do we go from here. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this component before we get into the next item.
Let me just add one other thing. This, again, is very measured. It's really important that we stay within the guidelines of what we know is reimbursable through the CDAA program. Experience tells me, the School of Hard Knocks, that if you get ahead of the state and the federal government on something that they may ultimately even deem eligible, but it hasn't been approved at the time you take your action, you may not receive any reimbursement. So when Tracy mentions right now it's 25-75, that's if the activity's been deemed eligible. If we get ahead of that, we run the risk of it being 100% county cost. And so that's why this is what we can do in the near term. It keeps us moving forward. As we, again, get those guidelines clarified, we get the better information that this will provide on the trees that are out there, then we'll be able to come back with a much better idea of what we should be doing and what the county's costs will really be.
Okay. Any questions from the board of staff?
I have a quick question.
Sherry?
So you touched on this when you mentioned that the state has approved licensed arborists and registered professional foresters, but is not recognizing licensed timber operators at this time. I know that's something that we continue to discuss with them, and maybe in the next item somebody can, one of the professionals can make the distinction between registered professional forester and licensed timber operator for me. But that is a piece that I think is important, in that we need to be able to utilize every resource that we can, qualified resource that we can. And so thank you for making that distinction in your opening remarks. Unfortunately, the state task force is moving painfully slow. And the other piece that I think is important is this, the Department of Interior Relations, or DIR, and would hope that as part of this plan, we're looking at a process to get people initiated in that process, and I think it's would be an important piece of this, so that, again, as many folks are qualified to do the work when the work needs to start. And so I know we've talked about a couple different possibilities, holding a workshop whatever it's going to take. But it doesn't appear that the state is moving on that, and so I think we need to, as a county, get folks that are qualified, prepared, and signed up, and do what we need to do.
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Go ahead.
So, thank you, Supervisor Brennan. I did not really touch on that. For the three of us who were in that task force meeting, we know, and many may not know, that we were told during that meeting that while we've been requesting an exemption to the DIR requirement or registration, because there were at the time only 5 in the Tuolumne County Calaveras unit that were registered. And those are the LTOs, and we'll have someone maybe from CAL FIRE or another who here that might be an LTO tell you what that is, because there are LTOs who have foresters that register, a licensed or registered forester that are part of their companies. There's a lawsuit happening, and it has to do with a fire, and I think they said 2005, 2006, and I thought it was San Bernardino County, in which they gave an exemption for that registration, and now they're being sued for that decision. Right now, our office has been, last week, I don't know how many different types of tree removal companies or LTOs that I spoke to, and I'm just telling them at this point, in order to proceed and to be considered when we go forward, until we get here otherwise, they will have to register with the Department of Industrial Relations. There were 2 who were quite persistent last week. They actually came back and said, I am now registered. There will be some, like when we did drought. When we did the drought, we had many who called me and said, if I have to do prevailing wage, I'm not interested. And that is every private business owner's right to make that decision. We know it is more expensive. We know that it's more cumbersome and it takes more time, and some don't know what that process is. Thus the reason we've asked that we could hold a workshop, not just to get them registered, but also what I was speaking with Debbie Franco on Friday was there's more than just registration. There are other requirements in there that some companies have never had to work through, such as certified payroll. How do you do it? How do you process it? How do you make sure you're paying correctly? So absolutely, I am asking we could do a multi-county type of workshop. We have offered many times to host that ourselves. At this point, with the pending lawsuit, it sounds as if we're not going to get that exemption. So the best that we can offer is to provide a forum for education and a more expedient way to register. Though I hear it is quite quick, I've never done it myself. So absolutely, and I'm more than happy to help or answer any questions or to ask more questions at the state level if needed.
And I'm suggesting that we put that would be a priority on the work plan, that we just go ahead and organize that in Tuolumne County. We can invite other counties to join us, but that we just get that piece moving.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
Yes, in what Sherry was mentioning, I think there is an openness of the state to conduct those workshops. They're willing to do that?
Come down and assist, I think.
Yeah, come down and assist is what I'd ask. We need someone from DIR. We were the first one to bring that up. They haven't said no, and when I was speaking with Debbie Franco with Office of Planning and Research, who's been phenomenal for years, as we all know, she has the ability to kind of help and coordinate and bring resources together. So yes, it did sound like that they were open to trying to make that happen for us.
Right,
I just don't know how quickly.
Yes.
Supervisor Hanveld?
Yeah, I've been talking to Ken Pimlott a lot, and including yesterday. The process is just cumbersome with the state, and I know that Tracy said that this would carry us through June. It won't carry us through June. It'll carry this phase through June. They're getting real work done on the ground is going to require some more, and the inefficiency of this system is just appalling to me. That she's going to have to come back to the board once we get the next round of approvals and ask for some more allocations, and so I'm worried that what's going to happen is, we're going to, tomorrow she gets it, and then, the next board meeting is in February. There's a lot of inefficiencies, just got to get fixed, and I'm trying to get Ken and Wade Crowfoot to work on that and give us some authorization where we move forward and not do this sputter kind of game. Plus, get these questions answered Cal OES has got to get in the game, and they're not in the game right now. And that's not just Cal OES. There's other people. We got to get a lot of issues got to get resolved. One is the continuation of the contract for Pacific Ultra Power. We got some inkling that could happen in the last meeting last week. They were talking, and they mentioned Pacific Ultra Power by name, but they're talking the end of April. I don't know what it takes till the end of April. Get them in a room, right? Get a contract fixed and get it moving. But government moves at glacial pace, and the glaciers are receding. The last I heard, that's not a good thing. We have to push harder, and like Tracy says, we're lead on this thing, and the frustrations that we're facing with the advantages we have are amazing. I don't know what the other counties are doing, but this will expand other counties, and it'll just get tougher and tougher. They're going to have to find new sources of money too. So we need to move forward as rapidly as we can with this. And so after public comment, I'm willing to make the motion.
Okay, open it up for public comment. Okay, bring it back to Supervisor Handbelt.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of the staff recommendation on this.
Second.
Okay, it's motion by Supervisor Handbelt, second by Supervisor Brennan. Any more discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It passes 4-0, and Supervisor Royce is absent. We'll move on to item 11.
Consideration of approving an agreement for professional services with Sierra Resource Management, Inc. for project management, coordination, and site management for the tree mortality hazard tree removal plan.
You're still here.
I'm still here. Good morning, Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office and OES Coordinator. This is a follow-up to our previous item. Now that you have approved a budget, we are coming before you to consider a contract with Sierra Resource Management Incorporated for project management / coordination and for the tree mortality hazard tree removal plan. As you know, on January 5th, your board approved the hazard tree removal plan. It was approved by Cal OES on January 6th. Part of the governor's executive order allows, as it did during drought, for counties and special districts or cities under the proclamation to bypass competitive bidding. Under that, and consistent with that language, we have chosen to go ahead and we began reaching out to Mike Albrecht, the president of Sierra Resource Management. The reason for this is as you know, we're still dealing with drought. We're finalizing, I think rimfire is just about done and finally completed. And thankfully, the Auditor Controller's Office took a huge part of that from our office, but there was still a lot to do. Drought still continues. We have other items in the office that are keeping all of us very busy. And while in a previous life I may have helped with some timber operations and logging and reforestation, it's a different lifetime, and that's not something I do now. I have no knowledge of that, nor does anyone in our office. So under this, we have been working with Mike Albrecht to determine what capacity does he have and what type of services would he have available to begin coordination of something this large for our county. He has indicated that he absolutely feels he has the capacity, the ability, the expertise, and the relationships to begin working on this project for us. With that, it would allow him to help begin working with RFQs, to help develop project areas. He'll also know as we start working on areas when second opinions. He's not working to go out and do registered professional forestry work, meaning designated trees. That is not where he'll be. He'll be overseeing that, but he will not be working that capacity. We are asking him to be the manager of this program for us across the board. He will help to interact with our own local task force. As you know, he's also already been part of the state task force since the very beginning. He's engaged and he has a great relationship, not just locally. From what I am hearing, I've only had compliments when I shared this with the task force and the core planning team on Thursday, but also across the state. He is recognized for the type of work and his integrity. I look forward to working with Mike. He is here today to answer any questions. It is our hope that over the coming months, while we wait for the state to continue defining and making their guidelines a little more clear, that we will begin on the process that they've already identified that we can do, and that is identification of trees. And that's something that Mike can begin working with local foresters and local arborists to start creating project work areas. Hopefully within the next few months, we'll have those better defined guidelines so that then the next step would be to get our timber operators, tree removal companies out there to begin working in those identified project areas. So it makes sense. He's also able to do the site management for that property adjacent to Ultra Power. When you look at the breakdown for the fiscal component of his budget, you'll see that his hourly amount is $100 an hour. When I called around and was asking for, just randomly calling and asking for what is the going rate, I got anywhere from $85 an hour for a registered forester to $120 an hour. Remembering that we're paying for him to do more than just be, and I'm not discounting RPF, but more than just going out and identifying trees. He is putting and coordinating this entire plan for us. He also had talked about maybe needing some type of coordination assistance, so that's included in here. There's some mileage reimbursement. We expect that we'll be doing quite a bit of driving across the county. And then there is an equipment component to this. We may or may not need some or all of this. We don't know at this point. We do know that we will not need Sierra Resource Management to begin chipping the wood that's on the site there. That is something the Pacific Ultra Power Pacific Ultra Power, they will do, and they will incur that cost. But we may need that equipment somewhere else. We just don't know yet as we move forward. But it gives us the flexibility to begin moving forward within the guidelines that we have that have been set out by the state while we wait for better defined guidelines for what's to come next. With that said, Mr. Albrecht is here. He's able to answer any questions, and looks like.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one thing. I've heard some concerns raised, not about Mr. Albrecht and his company, but where does that work stop and start? He'll be working in that coordination level in tandem with our office. He'll definitely via this be operating that wood yard next to Ultra Power. Due to the potential conflicts, we do not see Mr. Albrecht, and we talked to him at some length about this. There has to be a little bit of firewall. You can't be the fox in charge of the chicken coop and directing work to your own company. That's not going to happen, and that'll be something we'll work on and be diligent to make sure we don't do that. It's to plan, to coordinate, and then we will be able to reach out and work with those in the business to fall, haul, and do the other work out on the ground. So just wanted to make sure, because there was some question, is he also going to be doing all the work out in the field? No. He's coordinating it. He'll be, again, contracts for that work in the field will be, those will be county contracts. And again, we'll be working diligently with him and with county counsel's office to make sure we keep those channels clear.
Okay, any questions from the board? Any public comment?
My name is Stephen Crook. I've been an LTO in the county for over 40 years. I just have a few questions. The first one now, just thinking on the prevailing wage, I'm not questioning at all the contract with SRM, but is that going to be enough money on the prevailing wages with the rates that you've given him? Is he not also going to be required to adhere to the prevailing wages? So that's something Mike might think about. When I look at those prices, I don't see how those would work. I think he needs more money. But I just have a few questions I'd like to bring up, and I just wonder, when it comes to a hazard tree removal, what does that mean? So do you remove the hazard to the public by not letting it fall on a person or vehicle, or does it mean you have to remove it? So I know, looking at some situations on the county roads, that removing all the hazards, all the trees, some of the trees you can just gun right into a canyon, get rid of them. But if you're going to have to remove them, then there's really a big cost to that. And I just wonder on the scope of Mike's contract, if that's not already identified by the board, how are you going to give him direction on, what to look at? If he's supposed to go to every tree, GPS, get the location, is he going to make the determination that every tree has to be removed? Or does it just have to correct the hazard to the public of making sure it doesn't fall across the road or the county structure?
You want to answer that, Ms. Riggs?
Yes. So as of right now, Cal OES is recognizing that we would not only be falling those trees that threaten public infrastructure right away, but also removing those trees. So it would include hauling, but that's not something, again, that Mr. Albrecht would be doing in his company. That would be contracted out separately.
Okay, and so that means the limbs too?
That means everything. Yeah, you're going to limit, bucket, you're going to remove debris, all of it.
Okay. Then, so how is the county going to deal with prescriptive right-of-ways that county roads go through? The tree, there is no legal deeded easement to the county. The property owner owns the trees. Are you going to fall those trees at the county expense or under this program?
Just real quickly, then I'll look over at council. We do have under the Cal OES guidelines, they do allow us to remove trees at the expense of the state and county with a right of entry or right of access permit, which county council's office has already drafted. And that allows us, with their permission, to go in and assess the trees and remove the trees. And they also, by signing that document, it's a hold harmless agreement for all the agents, including those who would be removing the trees. Also, they're absolving themselves of any revenues that may or may not be generated by removal of those trees as well.
So how about county roads going through Forest Service and BLM properties?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. I mean,
and all I'm doing is I'm just thinking of the roads in Groveland that I look at, what problems that are there.
Good, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Kirk has some good points there. I'm thinking specifically Wards Ferry Road. The thought of falling a tree on Wards Ferry Road and bringing out the limbs and the entire tree might be something that we might have to consider to fall and leave. It's not going to cause any problems. So we need to clarify that. It's I would hope that we could look at this on a case-by-case basis on the trees, and I don't know if that's something Mr. Albrecht can answer, but certainly it's not feasible in some of those areas to get those trees out. They're just going to have to. They're just going to have to stay. If they fall, they will fall on the road. If you fall them down the canyon, they're not going to hurt anybody. So, just trying to use a little common sense there. Yesterday, I was out in the Deer Flat area, which those roads are. And Mr. York might be able to find that. Is my understanding that there's not a designated right-of-way, but it's a right-of-way that's been established since the 1850s in some cases. So, again, prescriptive right-of-ways, property owners on each side. I can't imagine anybody not wanting to have a dead tree taken down. That should be something that would be easily resolved. But some things that we need to look further into.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a word on that, too, that part of the duties are coordination as part of this agreement. And this is a classic example. That's why we have the Forest Service, the state, all the other jurisdictions. We're going to have to coordinate, work together to answer some of these. We've not done this one before, so we'll work it through. Obviously, there's hierarchies, involved, individual governmental rights, personal, property rights, and things like that. And we will work through it. I don't know that we have all the answers here today, though. That's why we have a core planning team, and we'll be working those kinds of things out. Some of that material, I'm sure, could be chipped and left on the ground as we do currently, but judgments will have to be made out in the field. What we don't want is to leave a bunch of fuels and a mess, laying out there to the extent possible. But there's a cost to all that too, and all of that will be incumbent upon us to make good judgments and make sure we're reporting back to this board, how this program is going.
Supervisor Brennan.
And I would just add that we've already commented on how painfully slow the state task force is going, but there are committees that are working on, say, pile and burn, and at this point, the problem is so large, I don't think we want to say that any potential tool is out of the toolbox. And so, I think we're going to get a lot more direction from the state in the coming months, but I would not at this point be limiting what potential opportunities there will be coming forward. And I agree with what Mr. Pedro just said, because I know it's something that I've discussed with a number of the state folks. I am very concerned about leaving a lot of this fuel on the ground, and we talk about minimizing the risk to infrastructure. And so we have the risk from falling, but I also see a huge risk from fuel loading and the next fire that burns through. So in my mind, just leaving it lay, again, I understand there will be some geographic areas that that might be the alternative, but in general, philosophically, I am not in favor of leaving a bunch of fuel on the next to infrastructure. And I would also say that this problem is so large. I see we're going to have to find a way to prioritize where we're going, and at least initially. And I think access and what the benefit is to the infrastructure is going to be key in how we prioritize that. And I would also add that TUD will be looking at this. It's a number of infrastructure components. So just would add that to the conversation.
No, I think you're right on target there. I think one option you might consider also is that the first hazard, I think, is if a tree falls across the road and somebody gets killed. Mm-hmm. And possibly go through there and just fall the trees. That's going to be the quickest action. You fall the trees along those roads, and then you come back in and you remove the tree or the slash, however you want to do it that way. Now, that's going to possibly affect once you have the tree down on the ground and you don't come back for maybe 2-3 months, the value of that tree might lose some marketability, especially to SPI. But that's the next thing I would like to get into is in the wood yard, it shows that maybe reloading some of the product to go to, I'm assuming, to SPI. As I see it, the wood yard's there and the operator will be there sorting out logs, and if there's saw logs, it could go to SPI, send them to SPI. If there's shavings logs, send them to the wood fiber or the shavings plant. But how I look at that, I see that the county is going to get 75%, hopefully, of the reimbursement on this. The public out here really has a problem, and they have the same fire hazard, and there's such a little capacity for these markets, and I don't feel comfortable myself seeing the county filling those markets when the state is going to reimburse the county 75%. So I don't like the idea of monies coming out of the product, which is going to lower the cost of the county's portion maybe, or lower the part of the state portion, when the public out here is really getting hammered. And so I would wish the wood yard would just be a wood yard. You deck it there and deal with it in the future. And I don't know what that dealing is, but when a landowner, I just think of some of our trees there along Wards Ferry Road, to have the county be able to take those and not make money. I know nobody's going to make money on these, but create some income on it when all these private owners there's no market available to them. So that's one of the things I think ought to be talked about. And then also, the RPF, this is going to be so massive. I have trouble, maybe Mike could talk about that, but if a RPF is going to have to put his signature on every tree out there and guarantee to the state that all the California regulations are adhered to, I can't imagine any. And then having all different operators, LTOs, working underneath them, I can't believe that there's very many RPFs are going to take that kind of responsibility. And so another thing that I've done is just as the LTO, but the way you explained it earlier doesn't sound like the state's going to allow that. There are exemptions to where the state allows the LTO to submit exemptions on removing this timber, and they take the responsibility. So so those are just a few of the things that, and I wouldn't mind being on a committee or something like that to discuss some of these things too. I've just read about it in the paper, and I do hand it to the county. I mean, you are really proactive on this, and there really is a big old problem, and I hope it all gets worked out before we all get burned up. Because I see Groveland there. Johnny knows that. There's so many private properties there around Groveland, and there's no way in the world they're ever going to stop a fire if one gets started there. There's the water district out there that has like 120 acres of timberland, and along the railroad grades and the county road. We really have a disaster that is so probable.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
A little bit of that. It's a big problem. As you recall, I did have you look at some trees that I had a while back, and I don't think we have a 100% answer for anything, but I think to sit here and not do anything would be the wrong thing to do. So I think this is one of those things that it's going to be fluid. Things are going to change, and we want to do the best we can. I do understand what you're saying about the person with private property and a tree close to a road. He might have another 50 trees up the hill from that, and those have a market value if they're not quite dead yet. We have to work those out. We have to figure out how to balance it, how the private person can get some help. And I think that's one of our goals through the state, that we're trying to figure out how to do that. And I know those meetings have been frustrating. I haven't been there, but I do know Supervisor Hanvelt and Ms. Riggs have been there. So we'll get it, but it's not going to be an easy. It's going to be a real challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Brennan, did you have something?
Oh, I just was going to ask for a clarification from Ms. Riggs. I believe one of the subcommittees at the state is on regulation, and with the emergency declaration, they are looking at, I don't want to say relaxing the regulation, but what the guidelines will be.
I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. When you say regulations in regards to CAL FIRE and the permitting process of what that can be removed by the LTO?
Correct.
Yes, and they're using something similar to what they used. I think, I'm going to look back here, Lake Arrowhead maybe, where they had some issues where it's really a one-page address kind of area in the front, phone, and then the back is a list of all the properties. But in regards to the RPF and their oversight, I want to make sure they realize that the RPF's registered professional foresters and the arborists, their scope within the contract will be for designation of and identification of the hazard trees. Hazard trees are identified as to either threatening public infrastructure or right-of-way, and that can be on private property, but they either have to be dead and or dying. So they're currently already so diseased or drought-ridden that they are clearly dead, or they can see successful bark beetle infestation. Those are the two. That is the scope of which those two professionals will be looking at. They will not be overseeing the LTOs. That really will fall to the coordination of our SRM contract. And the CAL FIRE, I mean, the unit foresters working with us, stepping next to us, right, partnering with us, and how we can make this as easy as we can for our LTOs as we work through this process. And just real quickly, on Friday, the phone call that I had with Debbie Franco was a gaps analysis, and that's what they're trying to find out from the 6 counties. And what came out over and over and over from each of us was private landowners. So they're hearing it loud, they're hearing it during the task force, and they're hearing it when they do these private phone calls with each of us as well.
Before you go.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question and a comment. On item number 10, that was only going to go, you said, until June 30th. Does item 11 only go until June 30th at this time also?
That's correct.
Okay, so we could pay him up to $336,000 up until June 30th.
Correct.
Okay. And then adding on to Mr. Crook's comment, I was in this room when you all made the choice to deliberately exclude the public from your local task force. And under the Brown Act, task force are included and have to be compliant with the Brown Act. So it seems to me including some of the public might get some of these issues out. So that's my comment. Thank you.
I'd like to say a couple. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Crook for getting up here and bring those questions. I want to assure you that the private lands issue and the LTO issue that you brought up, I've been and others have been carrying with the state task force. I was talking about the LTO issue just yesterday with Ken Pimlott. I believe that it's insanity to operate in this serial kind of process that they have when you've got a growing issue. I mean, even though you identify a certain hazard area, a high hazard area, the problem is that there are more trees dying every day in the same areas. So we get a RPF or arborist out there and designate certain trees. Meantime, the LTO goes out to remove trees, and 14 additional trees in the same area are dead. You got to be able to take them, and we need a process that allows them to do that. I mean, our LTOs are pretty smart people. You only spent 40 years of your life doing this. I mean, you ought to know something by now and ought to be able to operate. It's just a crazy process, and we're fighting those issues. So I would like you and others to make sure you have all your questions in, to make sure we don't miss some of those things, because we carry those things. By the way, I was a little confused by the last speaker's comment about keeping the public out of the task force. I think that's the state task force that you might be referring to, or is that ours too?
Ours is that way as well. It was that way with the drought task force as well.
Okay.
And this is not a board committee or board commission. It is a staff and planning. And the reason for that is, in the same thing we did with drought, is it allows individuals in there to openly share and collaborate. And it could create some conflict, what we've talked about, and I have to talk further with council. But if this is the same team and you have all of your city, those who are eligible under CDAA are county, city, and special districts. Those are the individuals, along with the regulators, who are part of the task force. If you have those same parties in there, along with your private individuals who are now going to be kind of competing and bidding and doing the work, there was questions raised, is there a conflict there? Now, I haven't pursued that, but in the past with the drought task force, those individuals are not in that task force either, and we did keep that private to just the districts and the regulators for the drought task force as well. The state is doing the same thing. It is not open to the public. It is a private meeting in which they post notes and other questions. I'm open to whatever you might direct, but right now it's correct. It's not open to the public.
I'd like county council can you take a task with the approval of the rest of the board, but I think it would be worth looking into that issue.
County council will look at that with the county administrator's office.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I would suggest is that an LTO would be appropriate to have some LTO representation in the task force, and I appreciate you looking into that matter.
Next public comment.
Good morning. I also would like to thank the board for taking this initiative forward, and I'd like to try to help make it successful and help make Mike successful in this as well. And so just a little bit of just background, and you guys are at such a disadvantage of those of us that have been in the industry and doing this and know what the normal process is. So if we can, let's back up to kindergarten for just a quick second and pretend that we don't have a massive catastrophe on our hand, and say you have property and you want to go ahead and log it. So the first thing that you have to do is have a registered private forester write a timber harvest plan. And so, and unless something has changed since I last looked at it, to become an RPF, first you had to have a 4-year college degree in either forestry or something similar to it, and then you had to work for an RPF for, I believe it was either 3 or 4 years with on-the-ground experience in preparing THPs and going through those motions with the state, and that allows you then to take a very difficult test to pass. I admire any RPF because I've been told that it's an extremely hard test to pass to actually get that designation. You guys are fortunate in that Mike is both an RPF and an LTO, which is a licensed timber operator. So after you get a harvest plan completed by an RPF, then that RPF or private landowner can find a licensed timber operator to actually do the physical work. Now that's another designation with the state of California. When I did mine, it was a few days of classes and another test to take to get that designation as an LTO. So in California, an LTO has to do that work if that product is being removed and sold, because we have to abide by the California Forest Practice Rules. And maybe in these cases they're going to waive those, but that's when we talk about just following a tree, just anywhere it goes, and leaving the slash. The Forest Practice Rules dictate what you can generally do on that. Like I can't go out on the THP and fall a tree in the middle of a creek and leave it there. Okay, there's things like that. There's distances from stream courses that you have to stay away, and it also dictates what we call slash treatment. And generally, in a lot of cases, it'd be like lop and scatter, which is just cut down the limbs to below 30 inches in places. So when we come up and start talking these things and looking through some of these problems, it is through that background and that perspective that we are trying to bring. On the designating of the dead trees, and I don't know what you have to do to become an arborist, but I know you're really limiting the number of RPFs and arborists in the county just on the designation of trees. If that task, and I know this is about the project manager, if it's available to him to be able to hire LTOs to do that, I think where that's being missed is with Cal OES and not understanding with CDF who can do what right now. Because right now, if any one of you called me because you had dead trees on your property, around your house, or around your road, we can do that with just a couple forms to the state as an LTO, and you don't need an arborist or an RPF involved. So they're already missing something that can be done right now. So that's why I think it would be crucial for you guys to keep working with OES to get LTOs involved in the designation of those dead trees for now, and what Mr. Hanvelt was just talking about in the future, because we know there's going to be additional kill as this is happening. So there should be no reason that LTOs should be excluded from that, because very capable of doing that type of work. And then lastly, I see some potential logistical issues with the woodlot idea in the sorting the product for either going to SPI or the shavings plant for the reasons that were already given, as well as in California, somebody has to pay the timber yield tax on that product if it's being sold. And that's going to have to be figured out. Is that the county going to do that? Is the landowner going to do that? Because a lot of times right now, us as the LTO, that would be part of our deal with the landowner. We tell them that we'll take care of the yield tax as well, so you don't have to deal with that because we're already set up with the Board of Equalization, and that has to be done. So that's just another thing that I know hasn't been brought up yet, but it is an issue and back into our normal world. Now, maybe the state's going to throw out the book on everything, and that would all change. But if they don't, somebody is right now currently on the hook for the yield tax, so that product is being sold. And that's why, again, you get to the LTO that has to do that work, because we're the ones that are supposed to know all these things. So as that process goes forward and it actually gets to the on-the-ground work, hopefully by then these questions will be answered. But right now, currently in California law, it's an LTO that has to be doing that if it's being removed and sold. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We got one more.
Well, good morning. First of all, my name is Mike Albrecht, and I am president of Sierra Resource Management. And there is a vice president here, too, that I want to make sure you know. That is Stacy Dodge. Sierra Resource Management's been working in the county since 1993, and I think known to all of you. And one way I'd like to look at this contract, if we take it on, and as we look back at it, if it goes well, I'll be glad to take the credit. If it goes poorly, I'd like you to talk to Stacy about that part. That's why we make such good partners. Also, we'll certainly take this on if in the future, instead of calling me Mr. Albrecht, you call me Mike. I would prefer that very much. I jotted down a few notes that I think will help answer this a little bit, some of the questions. I really appreciate the comments and questions that the Crook family has brought up. They are very, very good comments, and those folks know what they're talking about, and I look forward to working with them. So the first thing I noted is we have a task, and that is to safely, and I will forever, if you guys hire me to take this on, that will be the umbrella that this is all done under. Absolute safety. It's to safely implement the Tuolumne County Hazard Tree Removal Plan. Luckily, we have a force, and that is our Tuolumne County Task Force. We have a core planning team. I know you folks know about that. Some of the folks in the audience may not, and I'm going to just quickly tell you that within the task force, there's a core team, and they're made up of agency heads. Actually, I won't read them all to you. There's 11 different agencies that make up the core team. They're a planning team. I want to remind us all that this core team, the folks involved with this task, the LTOs, the RPFs, the timber industry, the different utilization, the markets, took on the rim fire salvage. We took on the road hazard tree removal. We kind of have done this in a way. This is much different, but we've done it. And we did it safely. And I'm real proud of how we handled the rim fire salvage. We're going to bring that kind of expertise and that kind of cooperation and organization to this effort. It'll be the same thing. It'll be different, but it'll be the same, and the outcome will be the same. When we look back, we're going to be proud of what we got done. We have some funding through the California Disaster Assistance Act, and that's really good. We have these priorities the way I see it, and that's first to assess the dead trees on county-owned and maintained infrastructure. That's number one. Number two, assess dead trees on private property that threaten county-owned and maintained infrastructure. And then we need to prioritize the county-maintained roads during this assessment. Those are the initial priorities, the way I read the tree removal plan and the CD, how do you say that? CDA. Thank you, CDAA priorities. Then we'll develop a ranking or rating system as we prioritize that work. Then we'll go to work. And as we go to work, here's a couple bullet points I came up with. We'll coordinate with all local wood resource markets for product utilization. And we'll get them estimated volumes. And it's been pointed out already, it's really important that we work with our existing markets, but we're going to also try to find markets outside of our area if we can for wood products. But SPI, California Wood Shavings, Ultra Power have all agreed to take some of this product. I think Ultra Power is actually going to take more than they initially talked to Tracy about, if they're still here after July. Randy's working on that. But it's very important to get these folks the best estimates we can of what's coming, and that'll be one of our priorities. We're going to give LTOs information on registering with the Department of Industrial Relations. And as I agree with Tracy, we may need to hold a workshop, but somehow we got to get the state to okay whether they sign off on LTOs and say, hey, you don't need to sign up, or we got a quick sign-up plan, but we have to have our LTOs available to us to get this work done. We do not need people coming in from out of the area. We've got absolutely everybody we need here to get the job done. We just need to get all this licensing worked out. That'll be a priority. We'll develop one or more local wood yards as needed. We'll utilize all available state labor and equipment. And by that, I mean working with the state task force, they've already earmarked $5 million, wisely or not, to purchase equipment. And this equipment's going to be available to counties to use. We're going to get right in line for that. And that will include chippers, curtain burners, which are processes that burn, slash on site with very little pollutant. So we'll find out what's available there, and we'll get first in line for that if we can. We'll provide public outreach services as needed, keeping the public informed. That'll be critical. That'll be critical, and I'll look forward to taking a lead role in that. We'll coordinate with CAL FIRE to streamline the regulatory processes around tree removal. Both Sean and Steve brought up questions about that. I have questions about it. We'll get answers. One thing I know is the state wants to work cooperatively with us to make this happen as quickly as we can. We'll maintain coordination and implementation of the Tuolumne County Task Force Plan with the Governor's California Tree Mortality Task Force Plan and Declaration of Emergency. In other words, we'll stay coordinated with the state. My goal is to get going a lot more quickly than the state is, but we can't, I think somebody brought out, we can't get out ahead of them too much, or we may lose our reimbursement processes, but we'll stay very, very well coordinated with the state effort. And then lastly, we'll do all we can to ensure that everybody goes home each night to their family safely, unhurt, uninjured. So those are the comments I had prepared anyway. That's the umbrella we'll work under. There are more unknowns about this than knowns right now. And I think those of us in the forestry profession are used to working that way. And so I can't say I'm glad to be here or excited about this. I'm sorry I'm here. I'm sorry we're dealing with this. But we will get the job done, and we'll get it done as a team, just like we took on the rim fire. And I will personally count on all the other RPFs and LTOs in this county to help, and I know they will. And I hope to give you a really good report in 3 or 4 months. And if it's a bad report, I'll let Stacy give it, I guess. Any questions? I'm glad to answer questions.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Mike. That was a very good presentation. Appreciate it. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move approval of the contract with Sierra Resource Management for project management, coordination, and safe management for the tree mortality hazard tree removal plan, an amount not to exceed $336,036.
Second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Hanvelt. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes 4-0, and Supervisor Royce is still absent. Next item.
Do you want to keep going or take a break?
What's the board's pleasure? One more item before the break, or you want to break?
Sure.
Okay, one more.
Okay. Number 12 is consideration of approving correspondence regarding Yosemite National Park's Wilderness Stewardship Plan scoping.
Mr. Richardson.
Morning, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. Once every so often, Yosemite National Park needs to update its wilderness plan. The last time they did this was in 1989, so they are undergoing a process, a scoping process at the moment, to receive input from the public on how to reshape its wilderness stewardship plan. What this 94% of Yosemite is designated as wilderness. And in so doing, it has to maintain its wilderness character, being natural, has opportunities for solitude, primitive types of recreation, undeveloped, untrammeled, and maintaining other features that may have scientific or historical values. So we know that recently Yosemite did adopt a Merced River Plan, a Tuolumne River Plan. These plans would take their direction from the Wilderness Plan. So this is a great opportunity for the public and the county and this chance to give input on how should Yosemite shape itself for the next, 20, 30 years until they redo the wilderness plan again. So we have the ability to comment through the, January 27th or 29th is the date when comments are due on the scoping portion. I prepared a letter that is takes its direction from the Natural Resources Committee, providing us with some points that we might want to include in this letter. So it's a draft letter open for your thoughts.
Okay. Any questions of staff?
Just a comment. I think that it's a good letter, and I think the real point of this letter is your last paragraph, and to make sure that we can continue to use the wilderness. So kudos to the letter, kudos to the committee for bringing it forward.
Okay, I'll open up public comment. Anybody want to speak on this issue? Welcome back.
I learned about this at the Natural Resources Committee as well, and I just want to thank you guys for commenting on it, because I believe it's very important for our local government to be involved with these federal issues from a coordination perspective and to keep looking out for our interests. We spoke about many things about Yosemite in the past. We know its importance, especially to the Groveland corridor. Being from Groveland, this obviously matters a little bit, not more, but I think about it more than maybe some others do. And I know we talked about some possible alternatives that day, but I really want you to push the Park Service into making it as accessible as possible for visitors. And that needs to happen for our overall economic growth. And I worry about when I see things that just show up as saying as wilderness plans, that the key factors to that could be eliminating access to people in certain areas. You know, we looked at the percentile that already is wilderness, and that's part of the allure, is to be able to go visit that, but you have to have access in some manner, shape, or form to do that. And I worry that someday that all the roads in Yosemite could potentially be closed and a giant parking lot at the gate, and you can go ahead and hike in and then do whatever you would like, because it is all wilderness. So please stay proactive in that, and I encourage you to lean on them as hard as possible to ensure the public access for now and into the future, so that it can be enjoyed and utilized by all, and so they can spend their money in Groveland when they drive through.
Any other public comment? Bring it back to the board. Supervisor Handbell.
Just a comment in light of our concert, actually, with what Mr. Crook just said. These things keep coming back to us, and they keep coming back, and there seems to be a trend to eliminating access or reducing the number of people allowed to participate in the national park. And I think we definitely need to encourage the national park. What's it there for? It's for the preserve, quote, for the American people to enjoy these things. They need to find ways where they can make the access and the experience available to more people in a way that's consistent with preserving and maintaining the park. And that's really what we want, as opposed to, if you will, reducing access and eliminating people from the park. So I'm all in favor of the letter and improving access and the experience.
Thank Mr. Richardson for capturing that message.
Any other comments? I think we already did public comment, so I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the correspondence to Yosemite National Park regarding the Wilderness Stewardship Plan scoping.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Gray, second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, passes 4-0 with Supervisor Royce absent. We will go ahead and recess for a 10-minute break. We will reconvene. Actually, we'll reconvene at 10:35.
Making it easy on him, give him a...
Okay, it'll be 10:35 in Tuolumne County, I guess. I'll reconvene the Board of Supervisors meeting, and if I can get the clerk to read item, I believe it's 13.
Consideration of approving the addition of two administrative analyst positions for the County Administrator's Office and increase appropriations of $27,490.
Mr. Pedro.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, as you know, the County Administrator's Office has been tasked with an ever-growing number of multi-year and ongoing assignments. Some of those are things that your board has directed the office to do. Some things came to us, such as the drought, NDRC, and the tree mortality type of things. But some of those tasks include some of the biggest capital projects the county's taken on in recent times, including those of the Law and Justice Campus, things such as the Juvenile Center, the jail, coordinating with the new state courthouse, the other support buildings that would be attendant to some of those departments, and a new lease facility for private development on that campus. All of these things we're in the midst of or will be moving forward with soon. I mentioned the National Disaster Resiliency Competition, which, just by way of update, heard that we should hear something this week if we're going to receive funding for that or not. High on the board's list, the department's list, and my office's list is it's time to reinvest in our information technology enterprise systems, such as our phone and voicemail systems, our accounting, payroll, human resource, and budgeting software systems, replacement of the county's property tax system, creation of a new IT strategic plan, and updating and implementing a strategic plan for enhancing and integrating law and justice agency software systems. And again, all that is managed through the County Administrator's Office. I'd mentioned the Office of Emergency Service items. I won't even go through that today. God forbid, and the creek don't rise, that we won't have another major emergency here in the near future. On top of all that, we have enhanced services that have been required related to natural resources. A couple things that are, one big thing, particular coming up here soon, is to coordinate with the U.S. Forest Service throughout the upcoming development of the Stanislaus National Forest Forest Management Plan. And your board's been talking about the need to coordinate the importance of that management plan, and this is where those two things definitely come together, and it'll be one of the most important things the county gets involved in the coming years. This board has also wanted to step up its focus on water needs, resource planning, advocacy engagement, and we just need additional assistance to meet those needs and expectations of your board, and the community. And all those things that I just went through are in addition to a number of duties that our office absorbed through the Great Recession, such as oversight of our libraries, recreation department, and airports. So additional staff that is being requested. Your board had asked me, well, what do you need to get the job done on behalf of this board and our community? And I've coming to you today with a request for 2 additional administrative analyst positions. Those new positions would have their primary assignments in the area of emergency services and natural resources. That will allow me to redistribute work within the office to cover all of those various areas and more that I just went through. I do remind the board and myself that we did borrow a staff analyst position from the Human Resource Agency. Your board allowed us to budget for that this year. If these new positions are granted, once they are filled and people are working in the office, that position will revert back to the Human Services Agency. As to the cost and funding, my intent is to advertise a position flexibly at Administrative Analyst 1/2/senior. So depending upon the quality of candidates, their education and experience, I could fill at the top, up to the top step of the Analyst 1 or 2 level and a lower level of a senior, depending upon what's available. What I'm not requesting is something at the Deputy CAO level or Assistant CAO level. I just put those numbers in there because there's a big difference in the cost, and hearkening to some counsel I've received from members of this board and talking this over with members of my staff, we think the best, most prudent thing to do is to recruit at the analyst level, not at a Deputy CAO or assistant level. We think we'll get bigger bang for the public's buck. and build in some depth into the office for the future. As far as funding, the position related to emergency services, we feel that we can, over the next couple years, recover 80%, roughly 80% of that cost through the California Disaster Assistance Act. When that runs its course for drought and for tree mortality, the ongoing role of emergency services in the office will shift to that position, and funding that we currently use to pay for one of the deputy CAOs, namely Tracy, will shift to fully fund that position moving forward. In natural resources, there's not a lot of options out there. I think we can legitimately use pay for about 5% of the cost of that position with some of the work, oversight of the studies, and hopefully some good work that we can do to assist folks up at Kennedy Meadows. So I've given you a chart that shows you the the gross and net cost of the positions for the remainder of this year, and also looking at next fiscal year. This year we have a net cost of just over $23,000. Next year, with both positions, it would increase the net cost of the county by about $116,000. So the recommendation to your board is to go ahead and add 2 administrative analyst positions in my office, increase in appropriations by $27,490, recognizing department revenue by $4,468, with a net cost of $23,022, and that would be covered by a decrease in general fund contingencies. And before your board has questions or deliberates, I do want to sincerely thank the members of my staff. Over the last several years, they have performed admirably, if I can get that out. They've worked very hard on behalf of this board and this community, but I think we've taken that as far as we can go, with physical limitations. But I know to meet the expectations of this board and community, we do need additional help within the CAO's office, and that's my report and my respectfully submitted request.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pedro. Any questions of the CAO? No? And then I'll open it up for public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I want to say I think we're overdue in taking this kind of action. Fortunately, there's been too many emerging issues outside our control, obviously, but there are other emerging issues, and this is just recognizing, in my view, the increased workload that the county's taken on, and it's high time we do this, so I'll move in favor of the request.
Okay, do I have a second?
Yeah, at the same line, we've continued to add to the workload, and we haven't increased the capacity, so I think it's important that we take that step.
Okay, any other comments from the board? I just like to make one, since I've been pretty much quiet, except for running the meeting all day. I want to echo. Pardon me?
We like it that way.
I know. You finally figured out a way to
Makes
get
it
me
go much
to
faster,
keep my
Carl.
mouth shut, right? But I do want to. I want to echo Craig Pedro's praise for the CAO's office. You folks have done an incredibly good job. A whole heck of a lot of hard work, and under probably the most trying circumstances this county's had. I mean, I recounted at the CSAC New Supervisors Institute how many days that we've been in an emergency and how many days we were not in an emergency in my first
I was thinking the very same thing.
tour. And so just thank you very much. And with that comment, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? 0. We got our 4 votes, and Supervisor Royce is absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting it together. Okay, number 14.
Consideration of authorizing a request for proposal to be issued for leasing of a portion of county-owned parking lot in Groveland.
Mr. Chairman, due to Government Code 87100, I have to recuse myself from this subject because I own property within 300 feet of this proposed parking.
We'll miss you.
Good morning. Kathleen Half, Deputy Director for Tuolumne Public Power Agency. And we have a novel idea for the use of some county property. It's an asset to Groveland as a parking lot, and we're wondering if it might be a better asset to drive tourism to the south side of the county and to Groveland by using part of this parking lot for a electric car charging station. To be more specific, a fast charge station, so that the people driving up to that area could relax, maybe have a dinner or a lunch or shop, and then get back in their cars and go to their final destination, whether that's Groveland or some other area beyond. So this RFP, I noticed you had a RPF in a former agenda item, so I'm talking about RFPs now. That's a request for proposals for companies that do that sort of thing, that promote and have a network of electric vehicle charging stations, to put in an application with us to see where we can go with this. This parking lot is used infrequently. There are a couple of times during the course of the year where it may be full, but generally speaking, it looks like the map that I provided for you on page 1, where there may be 1 or 2 cars parked there. So we're hoping to be able to use this county asset to bring more vitality and interest to our little pocket over there of Groveland and support tourism and greater economic development. We do have with us here in the audience Lisa Mayo, the Executive Director for the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau, and Larry Cope, Executive Director of the Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority. They're both in favor of this. So if you have any questions, I'm here, they're here. And we would just recommend that you approve this RFP to lease the Groveland parking lot to whoever the staff decides might be the best outfit to do this with your approval.
Okay, any questions of staff? Any public comment? The aforementioned Ms. Mayo.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Lisa Mayo, Director for the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau. And we look at this as a really great marketing opportunity. Electric vehicle tourism is a real thing. And in fact, in our current vacation planner that we should have out within the next few weeks, we have a special section on there where people can look to see where they charge their vehicles. So it does have an economic benefit as well as environmental and social. And of course, it's the parking lot that we're talking about is across from the soon-to-be visitor center in Groveland as well. So we think this is a great opportunity to get more people to stop in Groveland. As Kathleen mentioned, have a bite to eat, maybe stay the night. But it also will connect us with other communities. And hopefully at some point, we can have these all around our county. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is an excellent idea, and I think being ahead of the game a little bit, I mean, obviously electric vehicles are, cannot deny that you see more and more of them on the road all the time. Tesla, Prius, and all the others, and they're increasing their sales, so it's appropriate we do this, and I think if this experiment works, I think we ought to be looking at other opportunities at other locations in the county going forward. State parks or other tourist attractions. So I'd like to move in favor of the recommendation and approve the RFP.
Second.
Okay. Supervisor Hanvelt moves and Supervisor Brennan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes 3-0 with recusal by Supervisor Gray and an absence by Supervisor Royce. And I think the next item is our clerk's favorite item.
Yes, it is. Reports.
Okay, reports. We'll start with our acting county counsel.
As you know, Ms. Carrillo's in Sacramento today giving testimony before a state legislative committee on Sorry, thank you. As you know, today, Ms. Carrillo's in Sacramento giving testimony before a state legislative committee concerning medical marijuana. Since the last board meeting, Mr. Nespers handled 2 juvenile contested hearings. Ms. Drifdahl's worked on an invitation for bids for road striping and worked on medical marijuana issues. And I've been working on a restraining order hearing and HR matters.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Pedro?
I did want to mention specifically a meeting I had with the fire chiefs regarding the fire study that your board's definitely been interested in. Met with them, talked about the ideas that the board had to contain in the scope of work for that study. They wanted a little bit more time to think about it. I was going to give them a little bit more information and things to think about for their one of their upcoming meetings where they can give us some feedback. But one thing they definitely wanted to do was to finish, is pretty uniform in this manner. They wanted to get the new auto aid agreements signed and implemented because that task came out of the first study. And with the implementation of those new auto aid agreements, that should reduce greatly the amount of equipment rolling on different types of calls, whether it be for fire or first response. So just wanted to share that. That's not a conclusion, just some feedback from the initial discussion with the chiefs. Otherwise, I think we've definitely heard about tree mortality that's been keeping the office busy. Wanted your board to know that all of your departments have been working diligently in preparation of their 5-year forecast, which is a normal part of our planning and budgeting process nowadays. So they've been very busy with that. They've also been very busy in preparation for the upcoming planning retreat. A couple of things in particular is some background on their activities in the area of staff development, and also it's an informational piece that your board was given last year in advance of the retreat on just some of the major things that they're doing, emerging issues, things that could come up at the retreat. And with that, that's it.
Okay. Supervisor Hanbelt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've talked a lot about tree mortality and what's going on there, and I did mention that Pacific Ultra Power is clearly a hot topic there. But one of the things that I want to tell you is that last week and again yesterday, talking to Pimlott, I have been requested informally at this point, but formality will come, to testify in front of a joint assembly committee meeting in February, budget and natural resources, and it's associated with tree mortality. So I've said I will do that. February 22nd is the nominal date, and I'll keep you informed about the details of what I'm supposed to testify and get some input from the board and our task force as well. Last week on let's see, I think that was Thursday, they attended the Aqua meeting with the state, where the governor handed out his copies of his water plan. I obtained copies for members of the board, county counsel's office and the CAO's office. Yeah, very interesting meeting, a lot of interesting comments. And one of the encouraging things I have to say is the governor has put storage into his plan in a big way, and that's a plus. Tomorrow I will be going to the RCRC board meeting. I was asked last week by the chairman, incoming chair of RCRC, to serve as the vice chair of the GSFA, which is their financial arm, and I have accepted that position, which will just give me more insight into what's going on there at RCRC. And then I will also be meeting with Supervisor Can and Paul Smith on the state of fairs, in particular our Motherlode Fair, in the afternoon. And I will also be meeting with Matt Cate of CSAC and Vito Chiesa on some CSAC issues. It's my report, sir.
Supervisor Gray?
Yes, just short report. Last Thursday, was at the Gateway Partners meeting in Yosemite, and in discussion with Superintendent Newmarker, he did commit to funding another yards bus on the corridor. The important part of that is that it will be an early bus. It will tie into the possibility of people being able to ride it to Rush Creek as far as having a job. They're going to need over 100 employees there. It's a long ways from Sonora if you're driving a car, but maybe not so far on a bus. So looking forward to seeing some activity of employment of people here in the Sonora area up on the corridor. That's my report.
Supervisor Brennan?
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight again, we've talked a lot about the state task force, just some of the subcommittees that are participating in that. There is forest health, mapping and monitoring, prescribed fire, public outreach, regulations, resource allocation, and biomass. And when every one of these committees gave their report, Mr. Pemlott commented, they talked about their next monthly meeting. And he made it very clear that these subcommittees need to be meeting more regularly, that all of the questions really were centered around county questions, and counties need answers now. And so I am confident that these subcommittees are going to be stepping it up, meeting more regularly, so that when we are at the coordination meeting once a month, we start getting some answers to the questions that come up repeatedly, the same question that continues to come up. So I'm going to hold the task force leadership to that commitment, and I think the 6 impacted counties are going to be working very hard to hold the leadership to their commitment. On Saturday, I had the privilege of attending the 4-H community dinner. In the fall, we congratulate 4-H for all the work that they do with the youth in this county. We thank the leaders of the different projects, and we recognize all of the effort that it takes. I want to say that this one event is their primary fundraiser for the year. It's been happening for 43 years. This year they sold over 1,200 tickets. It was an amazing event. The building was full for 4 hours. Unfortunately, they announced that it's going to be the last year that they're going to be holding it for a number of reasons. But I think it is worth thanking Ron Hamilton, Sue Moore, and Sharon Smales. They have been organizing and putting on this event, I think, for probably the last 12 years, and they have done a tremendous job, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with as their next project, fundraiser, community-wide event. It's a lot of fun, and it's just was great to see everyone there. As far as announcements, on Monday the 25th, the Forest Service will be hosting their Over the Snow workshop, and I believe that is at 3 o'clock at the Best Western. Do you have that on your calendar? I believe it is at the Best Western.
It is at the Best Western.
Thank you. Anybody that is interested in the Over the Snow plan, please attend. I will be there. And on Thursday the 28th, there will be a Vision Sonora meeting in downtown Sonora at 9 a.m., and that's my report.
Okay, I've got only 2 items to report. On the 9th, I went to Congressman McClintock's office to participate with a bunch of, or a handful of past military members to engage in a conversation with the congressman on a potential authorization for use of force in ISIS. It's kind of an interesting opportunity to actually have the congressman's ear on what's probably a very important issue for a lot of people in the United States. On the 14th, I was with Supervisor Hanvelt at the Aqua Conference, and very interesting to listen to our governor talk about his water action plan. And there were a couple of panels that were equally interesting on basically where we're going, where the state is going with respect to the drought and the expiration of the regulations, the emergency regulations that expire at the end of February. They will be continued until early April, as I've said before, when we get the final picture on what kind of a water year we had this year and what that means for the drought. So there was a lot of discussion about that, and that's my report. And I understand that we do not have a closed session today. Okay, item 16 has been pulled. So already at 11:03, this meeting of the County Supervisors is adjourned.
I think we're too easy on the new chairman.
I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't think it was that the agenda was easy. I just didn't get the chance to say very much, and so it went a lot faster.
We may make you permanent chairman if it muzzles you.
Then we would need two chairmen.